Alright guys, after this video goes live, there's going to be a poll posted on the community page where you can vote on what motor goes inside this bike. This is a 21 Schwinn Taff. It's going to be a dedicated trail bike, but it doesn't have to be. More on that in a moment. Now, I've been holding out for a Schwinn Taff, the original version, for quite some time. 2 or 3 years to be exact. Ever since it was announced. It went out of stock immediately and I couldn't get my hands on it. It never came back in stock, and then they discontinued it and replaced it with this model. So those dreams are gone. However, this is a beautiful bike. It has a lot for the money. A price tag of $350, which I think is ideal for a motorized trail bike, and we'll explain more in a moment on why that is. Now, what we got going on here for the bike: tapered head tube, suspension forks, front and rear disc brakes, a nice headset, a thick 33mm seat tube, and the frame just itself is beautiful. Honestly, it's a great looking bike. Nice beefy cranks, a 1x8 drivetrain. I really like the 1xs. Other than that, I think that's all the notable features on this bike. The original Schwinn Taff with the hunchback design had a top tube that came out straight and bent down, which was ideal for me because it meant more clearance for the motor. Now, we got a super tight build going on here, and it limits our options. We're going to need an offset intake or a reed block with an offset. More on a reed block in a moment. Exhaust, we're going to be using a pipe. I'll show you which one in a moment. It's different than you've seen so far on the channel and should be a really nice pipe. But if you use a stock pipe, it will run into the chain ring, so it would need to be bent. Clearance from the cranks, really nice. We're going to be using a pull start on whatever motor we choose. It's going to be modified. A link in the description for that video so that we can have a semi-reliable pull start. But the reason why we'll be using one will be explained once we get to the sprocket. Now, the really nice thing about this so far is with this mock-up, I've made no permanent modifications to the frame, and it looks like the motor kit's going to work. No permanent modifications means that if you were to someday take everything off of this bike, you would have a factory bike, other than a few scuffs on the frame from mounting hardware. Now, this has some nice, beefy, thick tires. Relatively speaking, they're the thickest tires I've used on any of my builds so far. I was concerned about chain clearance between the tires, but guess what? Plenty of clearance. I don't know how well you can see that in the video. Both top and bottom chains clear. Frame clearance for the chain. Also was worried about that. Being a dedicated trail bike with a beefy 56-tooth sprocket on a lot of frames would cause the chain to rub, but there is a massive amount of clearance on both top and bottom for the chain. So we've cleared the tire, we've cleared the frame, the chain line. Straight. We won't have any chain popping issues. It goes straight from the sprocket to the motor. The Schwinn Taff has one key benefit over a lot of frames that I've seen so far that really makes this ideal for any kind of bike you want, whether you want a trail bike or a road bike. Check this out. You don't have to use a beefy sprocket. You don't have to get different disc for the brakes. You don't have to space the caliper. The reason why is they put the caliper in between the seat stay and the chain stay, meaning it doesn't interfere with the chain. A lot of builds that put the caliper here, they interfere with the chain, meaning that you have to use a tiny sprocket, 36 teeth or smaller in most cases. Some can get bigger. You have to use a massive 220mm rear brake rotor, and you have to add spacers to the caliper to raise it above the chain. Because the caliper is here, and you can use all the stock braking components, you can put any size sprocket, big or small, in here that you want without rubbing on the caliper, as far as I can tell. Now, if you go super small, maybe down to like a 26, you might run into a chain line issue, but I doubt it, as it looks like it would clear no matter what. We did have to do a few things here, no modifications, but adjustments. We had to pull the caliper all the way out. We had to space the disc, the rotor, 3mm away from the hub. There are 3 1mm washers on each of the bolts. We did this so that the caliper would clear the sprocket. Okay, it barely clears. It's only about 1mm, and I don't know if you can see it in the camera because the chain's in the way, but it doesn't rub on the sprocket, which is obviously important. To do this, we had to use a thin sprocket, so the beefy CNC machine sprockets won't work as we have this set up. They're too thick, they rub on the caliper. The sprocket itself, I had to modify by simply opening the center hole to fit over the hub. Okay, and I had my buddy use his lathe to open that up. It actually took a lot longer than we thought because they use hardened steel on these sprockets. It cuts pretty slow. There are certain adapters, I call them cup style adapters, which allow you to slip them over the hub, mount the rotor on the cup, and then mount the sprocket to the base. I couldn't find any with the right measurements of depth that would work with this build. Essentially, they would either have the sprocket too close to the disc or try and push the disc too far from the hub. And that just wasn't going to work. So I used a clamp-on style adapter. I absolutely hate clamp-on style adapters. It's just the only thing that's going to work with this build that I can see so far. The reason why I hate them is no matter what kind of friction material you use, they always slip when you go to start the bike. They usually slip on the starting spokes. Not so much on the drive spokes. I find that bending is only done when you start the bike. The only way around this that I've seen so far is to use a key. You key the hub, you key the sprocket. But that's only worked for me on coaster brake style hubs. When you try and key into these thin hubs on mountain bikes, you generally eat right through the hub, and it's just a waste of a perfectly good wheel set. I have rubber in between the clamp, squeezed down so hard that it looks like it's going to explode. I am hoping that in combination of using that rubber, very tight fit, and a pull start, we can make this work. Because as mentioned, I only noticed bending on the starting spokes, not the drive spokes. However, with the torquey motor we're going to be putting on this, we might run into an issue down the road, and we'll just cross that bridge when we get there. But as it sits so far, I think it's going to work. Okay, I think that is everything I need to cover on the bike to give you guys the information going into the motors. Let's check it out. The pipe that I'll be using with two of the options is right here. The WC80, it's an MZ style pipe from California Motorbikes. It is a little pricey, but it's still going to be cheaper than the motor. I look at it this way: if a pipe's cheaper than the motor, it's reasonable, but once you start getting up to pipes that are more expensive, then I just don't consider that. But this looks decent. It's got a nice smooth transition from the header to the diffuser, so it should run a bit better than the clone pipes you'd find on Amazon or eBay. We'll find out. All right, our first motor option. If you guys want to see a lot of port work on the channel, as I've been learning quite a bit lately on how to properly port, then choose this Wildcat PK80. It's a base motor. It's highly recommended. I even put it in one of my recommendation videos as a quality motor for a base starting point. We have a whole bunch of cylinders that I've been porting, and we'll have more in the future where we can mess with all sorts of port time durations, lifting, decking, all that fun stuff. So if you're interested in seeing port work done to find out just how much you can squeeze out of a stock motor, this will be the option. It will get the pipe that we showed a moment ago, and it'll get an offset intake. Our next option, Gt90 Conversion Kit. Now this is not a full motor, it's a conversion kit where you take your base motor and basically gut it, putting the crank and a few other components such as the clutch assembly, sprockets, seals into this case, which is designed for a case reed. This should work as our only reed block option because it's down here and I have enough clearance in here for a reed. However, I don't have enough clearance on the cylinder for a reed block, as I can see. So that's why our options are limited. But this is pre-ported with a auxiliary transfer port to justify the ported piston. Let me see if I can show you that here. There you can see the auxiliary transfer port. Now, they claim that the cylinder is pre-ported. It looks like they've done some case matching. However, I don't know if they've done anything to the exhaust. They don't show it in the pictures. We'll find out. Okay, so that's option number 2, the Gt90 conversion kit to a case reed. And finally, a brand new motor on the market as far as I can tell. Oh, hold on a second, guys. I just realized something during editing. Now, before we get into the details about the third motor option, which is still an option, it'll still be a poll. You can vote on it. It can still win. However, it won't work on this frame. I'll explain more in a moment. If the Phantom 85, which is the third option, wins, then I'll have to put it on a different frame, and I'll give it a full in-depth review on a different bike. I'll put the runner up on this bike, okay? The reason why the Phantom won't work is for the same reason a YD100 wouldn't work, is the one-piece jug has the spark plug coming out the top where we obviously do not have clearance for a spark plug. These two pieces are nice for tight builds because you can flip them around. It might take the spark plug a little further away from the intake than is ideal, but on these small motors, I don't think you'd ever notice a difference. Okay, so there's that. Sorry about it. Once again, if the Phantom 85 wins, it'll be put on a different bike and the runner-up will be put on here. If it doesn't win, then nothing changes. From bicycleengines.com, the ZT Moto Phantom 85. This is a true 85cc motor with a brand new single-piece head and cylinder design. I'll show you more on that here. It claims that it's ceramic coated for durability and performance. And the reason why this one's super exciting to me is not just because it's a 52mm piston, which is bigger than anything I've used so far, but because it shows that somebody is still doing, somebody is still making advancements in the hobby. So there's somebody making motor kits that still cares about this hobby. And that's why this is really exciting to me, because it's brand new, really nice to see. Okay, I won't be messing around with porting this. I'll just run it stock as it is. Now, the big got you with this is it has a completely different exhaust port. It has very wide stud spacing, so we can't use any bolt-on pipes that I found. I'm not making my own pipe. There's way too much involved in that. I just am not. So unless we find a bolt-on option, we're going to be stuck using the stock exhaust that comes with the kit. Now, that exhaust does claim to be an upgrade, as in it has less restrictive flow and is supposed to be quieter. But because it's not a pipe, we won't have the power band increase benefit that you get from having a pipe. However, the motor might make up for that in the simple fact that there's no replacement for displacement, as this is, well, let me put it in perspective this way. A stock cylinder is 47mm, okay? The trail bike we're running right now is 49mm, and it's already a torquey little beast, and the YD100 is a 50mm, okay? All right, so there are our options. Let me know what you guys think. Go check out the poll and vote on what motor you want to see put inside this bike. And this should be really exciting. I've been waiting for a nice build for a trail bike like this for quite some time.